right, hello musical leaders and welcome Lindsay, officially. All right, so get sharing going. Here we go, and share sound. All right, so this is for all of the SWD musical leaders, section leaders, or visual team members. And the goal of tonight is just kind of to help us prepare for the future as different chapters are coming in and out of the format of the rehearsal that they're doing, from being virtual 100%. We have a number of chapters that are doing socially distanced parking lot rehearsals or FM radio, AM radio rehearsals, and some that are going to start to move back into in-person with small groups. So this is kind of for us to navigate how we can most prepare for the next step, I would say. Okay. So for rehearsal plans, some of the things that we've been talking about is just our change in our daily routines of how we're practicing and when we're practicing, and how much that has impacted our stamina. And so that was one of the first things that I wanted to kind of chat with everybody today about, as far as how are we feeling about our rehearsal practice on our rehearsal nights, and then how much time are we able to put in outside of that that's going to help us be able to build back up our ability to either stand, sing, perform at that level that we would expect to see at least once a week. So maybe Lindsay, since you're here, would you mind sharing maybe something that has worked for you as a director, or maybe for your music team, to help kind of bring the skills back up that will help with stamina?
I think that right now is just keeping my guys singing. So every week we have them learn a tag, and then I have them actually record it, both vocal and visual, that they can send in, so that I can actually put that together. So it was at least keeping them singing. We do warm-ups every week. We've actually gone and participated in other chorus rehearsals as well.
Like visiting virtually?
Yeah, so we've actually been to West Town, Northbrook in Chicago,
Yeah.
and did both of their rehearsals and stuff. And then we've had people come visit us. So yeah, that's pretty much what we've been doing.
Yeah, I found that a lot of people have realized that their practice time was in their car. And so if they've been working from home, they haven't had that regular time to listen to learning tracks or just sing casually in the car or anything like that. And so that's impacted just their ability to really like sing throughout the repertoire, like all parts of their range, because they're not getting that regular, like 10 or 15 minutes that they might have on a normal schedule.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Just a lot of my guys are also retired. We just want to make sure, and every week I also have them do a sectional on one of our repertoire songs, just to kind of keep it in mind that they sing along on mute, with the learning track. So we've introduced some new music that way too, so that they're actually learning something new.
That's great. That's great. That's very motivating too. So skill building, one area that we tried to take advantage of, because of the Zoom format, sharing videos is really easy. Putting things on gallery view so that you can watch other people perform, kind of creating your own virtual choir format, as far as like you being able to see other singers. Because as we're on the risers, we only really see the director the best. We don't get to see what someone 5 people down from us is doing. So that's been kind of a nice thing to see, like, what are our faces actually doing? If we have a message of hope or love, are the eyebrows, are the face, cheeks and everything, what do they actually look like compared to what we think they look like and what we feel that they're doing? Yeah, so that's been a good one. We actually have a number of people that are really interested in arranging and music theory. So back last summer, we did like a breakout room of a level 1, level 2 music theory. And we had somebody from our music team lead one section, and I did another section. And then coming up in a couple weeks, we're going to have one of our members present an arrangement that he's been working on. throughout the quarantine. So he's going to share that. And he made rehearsal, like recording tracks and everything too, so we can break out and try out his part. So that was kind of a really neat byproduct of the quarantine for one of our members, which was really exciting.
Mhm. Cool.
And then another thing that we've enjoyed, like you said, with tags, doing a new tag every week, that's really build our sight reading skills, being able to, try different parts and, mix and match, learning all four parts or trying out different parts. And then finding good tags, either from the Good Tags app or from barbershoptags.com, doing the shared of the mix recordings from there, or the PDFs have been really fun. So.
I actually use the tags from barbershoptags.com because they can link right in our website and it'll pull all of the learning tracks.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I actually use the learning tracks to teach the tags every week.
Yeah. Much easier than trying to play open score on a piano, right?
Yeah.
And then the building awareness, we've really enjoyed bringing in some coaches that have kind of helped us. Like Phil Grant did a really great presentation for us on doing personal practice, like how do we practice at home and what things can we do to help us kind of become more aware of like really what happens up here and how that affects here. And especially because we're not doing the in-car singing, we might have a better opportunity to like actually set up and designate time at home, set aside time at home to really work on it. And just a lot of the things that I just hadn't thought of in a while, even being an orchestra teacher and stuff, there's some stuff that transfers to vocal and some that doesn't. And so like learning how to get in and out of certain passages, like crazy intervals in baritone parts or bass parts, and how do we practice and isolate just those couple of notes, and then walking into it, trying it at different tempos, reversing the notes, just all different strategies to kind of mix it up instead of just always starting at the beginning of the song and getting stuck in the same exact place time and time again. So for your sectionals, you mentioned that you guys do a sectional every week, right?
Yep.
So do you have like different like practice goals or sections of music you're trying to conquer each time? Or are you working on more like technique things?
Actually, it's more just to keep the repertoire up because we haven't sung together since last March. And so it's one song every week. Like our rehearsals only last about an hour and 15 minutes. And so we do like 20 minutes of warm up, and then we learn the tag, which takes, 20, 25 minutes. And then they go into sectionals for 15 to 20 minutes just to remember the song. And then just making sure that we go through and they revisit, the interp that I remember for this is so, so they talk about it. And for me, it's just so that when we get back into singing all four parts together in the rehearsal space, they haven't forgotten the repertoire. I mean, that my biggest concern was, forgetting the repertoire. So at least I know every week we're going back and listening to one of the songs in our repertoire or learning a new song, depending on what we want to do that week, so that when we get back, we can work the technique and everything. That's one of the things that with my quartet, we tried doing a lot of stuff online and it just wasn't working for us. We realized how much we relied on us being in the same room. And so right now, my goal is just make sure you know your notes and words so that when we get back together, that will be the time that we start just putting the sound back together. Because a lot of people sing differently when they're singing with, on the computer, or they're doing all that stuff, and some are not singing smartly. And so we just want to make sure that we're going through the motions of remembering the music that we knew and having it ready to actually go, okay, so now that we're back, we can hear the chords and four part and everything, and you're singing into the sound of the people that are on the risers. That's my goal is right now, just to have them remembering the songs that we actually have in our rep.
And you mentioned with the quartet too. So have you found that you've had to kind of change up the strategy through time to kind of keep things fresh or keep motivated?
We have, and we're lucky that, so I'm fully vaccinated, and I was the one that was probably the biggest, just the most susceptible in the quartet. And so we've actually been, today was our first in person, all four of us together. They've been rehearsing the trio for the last couple of months without me. But I would zoom into the rehearsal so I could hear what they were working on and work on it at home. They wouldn't hear me,
Mm-hmm.
but, and we've had to set new goals for ourselves because, international got canceled again. So, for us, it's okay. So so we've been providing education to others and visiting choruses and stuff like that. And so our goal is, we still are aiming for international, and we're still putting that stuff together. But in the meantime, what can we do to stay involved, stay motivated ourselves, and provide education so that we all come out of this smarter?
Yeah, it's been amazing just how much content people are sharing with each other, and just the invitations. Just like there's so many just open invites and virtual guest nights and all that that's been going on. It's been such a blessing because I mean, where else could we travel like, a 4 hour
Right.
flight to go attend some rehearsal that's on the same night as ours usually, things like that.
Yeah. It's been interesting. And I think by the time we're done, we will have visited the 40 some groups so far, like 43
Wow.
or 44 groups. So,
That's so amazing. And it's just building that community too.
absolutely.
That support. Awesome. The other ones we had down for rehearsal plans and just kind of practice things were gaining independence on part, and then also gaining awareness, which you kind of mentioned already with, how people sing at a computer versus how they're singing in person, and, new habits that might have creeped up that we didn't realize. We're sitting here looking over a computer, looking down at each other right now. Same concept there.
hmm Well, and I think too is that, for some of us, our chapters are older. And so there are some that, um, there will be some concern whether or not musically, I mean, vocally, they'll be able to get back. And we may find that some of our older members need to step away. Um, and that's one of the biggest concerns. I have an older chorus, and so that's one of my concerns. Um, but as you've talked before, is there's also the personal responsibility at home to make sure that you're doing what you can to make sure that you are maintaining what you had, and building towards what can be. But you also can't make people do things, you know.
I think that's the challenge that as a director that I is like kind of my biggest fear is that when people have the desire to get back and they just want to they want to be back to normal, and then their expectation is what they know to be the tradition or the level of the chorus or the level of the singers. And I fear that they have this idea in mind of how it's going to sound and how it's going to feel. And then they're going to show up and have all this like excitement and anxiety for it. And then they're going to feel let down because it's just not going to be the same. And we're going to
Yeah.
take a lot more time to build up what we've lost if the people haven't put in the personal time and preparation,
Right.
you know? And as a director, I'm just thinking like, okay, what can I do now to either help them build or also get it in their mind that like it's okay if it's different. It's okay if
Right.
you feel perfect right away. Like no matter where
Well,
you
and the other,
this is where you are now.
yeah,
You've been working on these skills throughout the time.
the other thing too, so I don't know about the other choruses, but I have some people that just don't Zoom. And so we haven't seen them in a year. We haven't seen them in a year, and the concern is that they may have filled their evening with something else, you know. So that's one of the difficult things is, how do you keep them engaged? How do you bring those back that you haven't seen in a year yet? They continue to be copied on all of our communications. They know what's going on, but Zoom just isn't their thing. And they're like, well, I'll see you guys when we're back in person. When is that going to be? You know, that's the hard part. So just making sure that we're continuing to communicate with them and make them feel included so that when we do get back into in person, that they are able to carve out that time again in their day to come and be with the chorus.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Just through society, culture in general, like just our own views and how the states are also different with how they're responding to the pandemic. I felt that like just on an individual level from people, like some were really involved at the beginning and then they kind of tapered off and didn't attend to anything. And then we'll get a random email or a random message in our group, where they're all of a sudden thinking of something or engaged in something, or they had a sleepless night and they came up with like 4 song ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of, the trends are very interesting to see, like how people feel drawn back into the group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things through Region 10, our membership coordinator for SAI there, she had mentioned starting off with like smaller groups, like quartets or octets in person for those that were vaccinated and felt comfortable singing, through just 30 minutes maybe, so that you start to do those smaller sequences of practice so you can build up that stamina again. And then just starting off with only sections, like just the lead section 1 week,
Mm-hmm.
the instructor could work with them or the section leader, and then, have a Zoom in between that, and then the next week do the baritones or something, so that you're starting to allow people to come together and working on just the unit sound, finding each other again, but still implementing with like some Zoom in between in case there's people who can't attend or won't attend. And I thought that was a great idea for like, long term, like what are we doing administratively, like the backward plan, like if we know come September that we're going to be able to be back into our church or our school where we can rehearse, fully masked, then what can we do, leading up to that to kind of build towards that, in case you can't do full in-person groups.
Anything about, because I've heard more on the Scoot Online side than BHS side, but the number of choruses who now no longer have rehearsal spaces.
We're in that boat. We don't know if we will for Austin.
Yeah. We were, our chorus was actually, we had just left our old rehearsal space and we're moving into a new one when COVID shut everything down. So
Oh,
we
wow.
hadn't moved in yet. All of our stuff is at, our immediate past president's house.
Oh,
So we haven't, yeah. So we haven't
my garage
had,
is full of 10 risers right now.
yeah. So we haven't had a rehearsal space since March of last year. And we don't know what the plans are, because a lot of churches are not, because they have to go in and disinfect after every group.
Yep.
That and they can't know what spaces you've been in and what spaces you've touched, but they have to do the whole thing.
Yeah. That's interesting. So do you know when you're going to be able to go back to the new place?
Mm-mm.
Right there? Okay.
But more so because I have a lot of my chorus members who are not vaccinated yet, and they are not comfortable getting. I have a number of guys. There are a couple of guys who are okay getting back together, but for the majority of the chorus, and because our chorus is so small, I'm going to be without parts if when we go back.
Yep.
So that's my biggest concern, is that if we do decide to go back, in the summer this year, that I still may have some guys who are not comfortable. Some of it's for themselves because they're not vaccinated. Some of it is because they are involved in elderly family care of their own family, and so they don't want to risk having, passing it on unknowingly. So I think that's one of the biggest concerns, and that's the biggest hesitation right now for the chorus, is just we don't know how many people are, even if fully vaccinated, if we're ready to go back yet. The external stuff that they deal with in their own household. So I don't know.
And
You know,
it's different
I've been
across.
lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I've been lucky because I started in March or April last year. I think I started with 15 guys attending rehearsal, and I'm consistent at like 11 or 12
That's
this
good.
many months later. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's really good.
yeah.
And then I think there's some groups that we had talked to at our last community connections last month, and some of them are doing like the hybrid rehearsal where they have the Zoom going at the same time for the people that are in person. So that way, you know, no matter what people's comfort level is or vaccinations or whatever, that everybody's still kind of staying pretty much in line with the pacing of the rehearsal and the music and everything. So.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting when we all go back.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's going to be quite different between the rural and, you know, city communities and things like that, the urban ones and, you know, between Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, like I think everybody's
Hmm.
gonna be a little different.
Yeah.
Hi, Jim, welcome.
Hello.
So we were just kind of talking about some ideas that we've been using through our rehearsals and the different format of rehearsals uh, for all these topics here on the left here, building stamina, building skills, awareness, gaining independence for our singers, and then we've just been bouncing some ideas. I wanted to share the new SWD education website with y'all. This is something that I put together with Rocky. So it's really a resource for all of our musical leaders to kind of come up with some ideas for virtual rehearsals and resources that you might be able to use through Zoom or to give out to your individual singers as far as what kind of warm-ups they could be doing to practice at home and kind of keep their stamina up. And so the education website is here just right across the top. This link is kind of the main hub that's got our virtual resources, but here's a breakdown of what we've put up there. And these are all things that I've just discovered and found through the last year, I guess we could say, of doing virtual rehearsals. And some ideas for how you can kind of spend some of your time looking at, you know, performance videos and comparing, you know, interpretation of songs, choreography ideas, music theory, which we had talked about earlier with Lindsay. They do have level 1 and level 2 music theory classes are online and free. So if you have people that are interested in that, or you want to start to incorporate some, you know, music reading skills, rhythm ideas, that kind of stuff, it's all available. Some of the different coaches that have come in have worked on like character development and a performer as actor. I know Cy Wood does a lot of that with like the objectives through interpretation of music and looking at new repertoire. And so we've watched a lot of musical theater videos and cabaret performances and really kind of honing in on character development and, you know, kind of staying engaged in how you're performing and then using that gallery view of Zoom to be able to kind of see what everybody's doing for the performances. And then growth mindset, some goal setting, you know, adjusting your goals according to what's going on with your own chorus and your section as well. So I'll show you that. It's through an outside resource called Padlet. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. It's totally free to use, and you can actually set up 3 different platforms that you would like to use. And it kind of looks like Pinterest, sort of, where you can decide the content that you want to put on there, and you can decide the layout. So you can have it in like a web format where it's got the middle bubble and then all the spokes going out, or if you like this, you know, column effect that's more like a bulletin board, or there's like sequence ones that are more like map based. But this was the one that we put together for SWD and kind of divided it by category of interest that you might have for your chorus. And so this is all basically interactive. So you can come in here and you can scroll down to see the content. You can put links to websites, you can put videos, You can add things here. So if you find something that you really like and you want to share, you could put that in there as well. And I added like vocal warm-up videos. We found a really cool alignment video from a chiropractor that talked about head position and posture. And I was just like, this is like right up our alley for singing category and performance category. So that was a great one that we used in rehearsal. There's some sight reading and some rhythm ones here that are like really basic intro kind of things. And of course, the Harmony University channel. I'm sure a lot of us have been using that one a lot for the vocal warm-ups, physical warm-ups, and also the mental warm-ups. So as we scroll over here to the right, you'll see all the different categories that we put together: physical warm-ups, ideas for mental warm-ups and social engagement in your Zoom rehearsals. I'm sure a lot of you have realized, that we're doing like shorter segments of time where, we might have on the risers done 30 minutes of a song and it wasn't a big deal for many people, but trying that on Zoom, people get bored quickly or start to zone out. So doing shorter segments has been a great thing for us and kind of incorporating some social aspects to it. We did a Zoom game one time where it's like categories where you give people like a category label thing, and then you pick a letter. So if we picked like the letter N or something, something to wear, then you have to label something that starts with an N, and then a place, something that starts with an N. And you can do, teams, and you could do breakout rooms like that. You could do it for a virtual guest night if you want to just utilize the chat and have people come in like first person to respond. So that might be something fun to kind of mix it up. Other ways you can use like the breakout rooms for like a hot topic, like what's your favorite karaoke song to do as a solo? What's your favorite duet song? Or what's the song you sing in the shower? Or something like that to kind of help with some of the interaction and break up the music focus all the time. This one over here is for tags and also for music theory. So this was a great one that I found that's basically everything that we go over with, new singers, right? People who maybe have not been around singing for a long time, or they did it in high school or college, but they haven't been back around. This one was super helpful for us because it just kind of was like a cheat sheet that covered all the basics. And it's got your treble clef, your bass clef, lines and spaces. It has some basic rhythms, time signatures, and then the keys that we would often use. It doesn't go very far into the flats because, of course, Barbershop uses a lot more flats more often. But, if you have a pitch blower that like wants a hint and help for that, then I thought this was a pretty helpful one. And then here's the link to the different music theory levels that BHS offers as well. So these are all free. There's PDFs in here and also arrangements, like some tags and things like that. This one is musictheory.net. Have you all seen this thing before at all? No? Okay. This one is really easy and really fun. I don't know. I like nerdy things, so this is fun for me. But there's lessons here. So it's all the very basic things like note duration, measures time signatures, things like that. And it's interactive. So you can click on it and it adds new content. And it's like all animated. So it's really easy to follow. It's got a pop-up piano so you can check pitch. It goes over the clefs. And it's everything from very basic introductory things all the way to, labeling chords and secondary dominants and like 5/7 chords and stuff. It goes pretty advanced. So the lesson section gives you like information, or how do you create this, or what makes something major. How do you tell what intervals are? So if you're working like in a sectional and your baritones are having trouble with all the stuff that they're jumping around and doing, you can go in here and kind of give examples of, what are these intervals that we're seeing and how do they repeat? What are they, etc. There's chords in here. There's seventh chords as well, inversions and a bunch of things. If somebody wants to practice on their own, I've had a number of people reach out and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Do you have any suggestions of places I could practice how to do it? And these are all interactive where you can set your own parameters of the exercise. So you go up here to settings and you can select, both clefs or single clef. and you can set what you want to work on. So note names or key signatures, and then you basically can like label, hey, there's the right note, da 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 da. So if you have anybody that's interested in doing a little bit more music theory, this is a great source. You can also print off sheet paper, staff paper. So if you have someone who's looking for arranging and they just need that, it's here. Pop-up piano, if somebody doesn't have a piano at home and they're looking for it, this one you can play and you can mark different intervals. So I've used that before as kind of a screen share during Zoom as well. So that is great. And it also has an app too. So if you have people that are extra tech savvy and they'd like to do that, their app is called Tenuto right here. So they can just pull it up on their phone if they would like to use that for the pop-up piano or for the like interval games or key signatures and that kind of thing. All right, back to the Padlet. So there's tags there, some just favorites that people have liked. We put those up there. Warm-up videos here, more alignment and things. Quartet performances have been really fun to watch. You know, we've had like an all request night where we get to just like watch quartet videos and chorus videos that we've enjoyed. That's been fun. Or starting new repertoire, we can listen to, you know, different quartets that have performed it before, talk about interpretation, performance skill, that kind of stuff. So this is all, again, linked through the SWD website right here. So you just go to education, and that link is right there. So we're going to continue to add content for that. All right, any questions so far on any of that stuff?
Nope.
All good? Yeah. All right, and then our next thing is talking about personal practice and readiness. So a couple different ideas that I had through the pandemic and stuff. We had gotten coaching from Phil Grant, which I mentioned earlier, and he talked about just like the psychology of practice and what we can do to kind of get over our personal hurdles that we come to when we're trying to work on new repertoire or trying to retain skills, remember the things that the coaches said, that kind of thing. And then also, because I also teach orchestra, I follow a couple different players on Instagram, and there's a professional cellist in Austin that came up with this practice pie idea, and I loved it and latched onto it and kind of crossed over what Phil Grant was saying and then what this lady was saying, that the cello player, and put together how that might work for singers and for barbershop in particular. So the concept of this is to kind of like consolidate your practice time to keep it like short, sweet, and efficient, so that you're not just going from like the beginning of the song and always getting stuck on the same measure, or you struggle to start at different places in the music. You know, if we're like, hey, let's start at chorus 1 and you have trouble finding that note. So this idea of like designing your practice time is to help kind of get through some of those hurdles. So it's broken up into basically these 4 quadrants. The first one is doing like your readiness and your skill building. So you start off with, you know, your physical vocal warm-ups. If you want to include like the SOVT, the semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, you can put those right at the beginning. So you're setting up with good healthy tone, and you're just like getting yourself into a good headspace and physical space to start. And then right after that, because it follows exactly with after your warm-ups, you go right into your technique things. So this might be an area of your voice where you're trying to work on maybe having a better mixed voice. You know, you're trying to work that bridge. And so just coming off of your warm-ups, you can go right into a short segment of your song where you're trying to work that part of the range, or you're learning a new part like with the melody or something, and you want to just work, how do I do those intervals? And you apply the technique you're working on to that specific spot in the song. So you're not diving into doing one whole song right away after warm-up. You're doing like a smaller chunk of that music. And then you can go into the new repertoire. So if you know you have like a certain goal coming up of in rehearsal, you're trying to get, you know, 2 pages off, you know, off music and going towards like notes and words or checking rhythm, that you put that where you're still kind of fresh in your rehearsal. And then you finally close out with the last bit of your rehearsal of doing something that you're trying to maintain or retain, or something that's just really fun. You know, if you love singing a piece of music and it makes you feel joy and accomplished at the end of your session, you want to end with something like that that's going to kind of set you up and make you feel good about the time that you spent practicing. So I put the link to this PDF here, and I've got this saved into a Google Drive where I can share this with anybody who attends tonight or who's watching from the recording. So that way you could take it back and you can have access to the Padlet, you can have access to the slideshow, and also to this handout. And this kind of breaks up the different practice portions of that pie. So first chunk is warm up, and it gives a few ideas of how you can, or what you can do during that first part. Register shifts, mixed voice, agility, you know, the things that we've seen from like Kathleen Hance's great videos that she's been putting out, or Diana, not Diana Menger, what's the one who's up in Canada? What's her name? Donna, right?
Danya.
Danya, that's right. She's been doing some great warm-up videos that are like short and sweet, 2 or 3 minutes, targeted practice on certain like vowel techniques or sequences of intervals. So those are two great resources, Kathleen Hansen and Danya Metzger.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second chunk is your technique one. So those are the areas where you're really trying to work out a tough spot, isolate that for like phrase and breath control, intervals, register, agility, anything like that you're working on. And then something to remember is that throughout this whole time, you start with the skill building and the technique at the top, and then you want to maintain your awareness of those skills throughout the practice time. And especially as we're going on with Zoom rehearsals, as musical leaders, we really have to remind ourselves to remind our singers what they're doing physically, especially because of being in a computer, how they're set up, where their computer is, how low is it, what kind of chair are they in, are they standing, keeping those reminders going throughout the rehearsals so that we're developing good, healthy habits for virtual. And then the third chunk is that new repertoire. So portion of a song or a brand new piece that you're still listening with, a learning track, you could put that together. Or if you're adding on a new section to a song, kind of moving to your next goal, that would go right in about the third quadrant of your practice time. And then the fourth is that the retention and like the maintenance of the repertoire. So, in conclusion here, these 4 pieces go into the practice pie, and then just really the goal of it is to just keep the singing going, really working on staying healthy, I guess you could say, through this whole thing, and really both mentally and physically, so that we are able to kind of build our skills back up and be ready for when we do come back together, so that we have found some time each day, or at least each week outside of our regular rehearsal night, that we're working on our skill building and kind of our resilience of coming out of this together. So, all right. So looking through that, any ideas or questions or things that spoke to you? If not, that's okay.
It'll be interesting when we get back, because they are so used to being on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And, as you say, the stamina of it, we went from rehearsing, 2.5 hours a week to, hey, we'll see you on Zoom, for an hour. And a lot of are, if they work, and even for me, like I work an 8-hour day before going to rehearsal, and I'm just like at 8:15, I'm like, I'm done. My eyes can't look at a computer anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is because the amount of time that we've spent and how it relates to rehearsal, So it's like, oh, we've gone to rehearsing for an hour. So when we go back and start rehearsing in person again, it's like, how long will it take back up to the 2 hour rehearsal time where, the mental clarity for that is going to be in place,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how people are just dealing with the pandemic itself and what mental space they're in just based on their own experiences throughout the pandemic. So it will be very different. And I don't know that right now as a director doing the Zoom stuff, how to translate when we're back in person
Mm-hmm.
and how to prepare for it. That's the hardest part, is how to prepare for it, because you don't know what's coming.
Right. Absolutely. And I think once we do get in person, I think the physical being in each other's physical space is going to be engaging and enticing in and of itself. But you're 100% right. Like, but yes, it's together and we're excited and enjoying it. But do we even have the ability to stand and sing for 30 minutes because we're used to, doing what we were doing on Zoom? But I mean, through the Zoom rehearsals, there's been a lot of things that people are like, hey, I hope that we can continue this portion of what we're doing on Zoom in person. Like, the singing of more tags, or, doing things that are outside of barbershop, like looking at other kinds of performances and musical theater, and like what
Right.
we're gleaning from seeing all these other people do what we do. Bringing in coaches, like how awesome is it going to be to have coaches come in where you don't have to fly them in anymore? You
Yeah.
just have them Zoom in.
I think a few of us are going to be making some purchases of like projectors, so that we can do some classes with others in our rehearsal spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and not have somebody have to take a day off work or fly or do whatever. So,
Right. Jim, how's your chorus been going?
We haven't been doing anything. So we haven't had any meetings at all in the last year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Jim, which chorus are you with?
Little Rock.
Okay. Yeah, that's it's difficult.
So do you have like an end in sight as far as when you're going to start to be able to sing either in small groups or back together as a larger group?
I do not know.
Well, we were just talking before you came on of some ideas that we've been tossing around, as far as like small group singing outside, or just have like the lead section meet, something like that, to try and get our skills back up and kind of get people feeling like, sing the repertoire and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would like to do that, but apparently we haven't had anybody that was interested in doing it. So we haven't really done anything.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are some choruses, or organizations that are doing just social time, so that they actually get back to just being amongst each other before they even start singing together again. Like, they just need to have that time together, because a lot of us have spent an entire year apart, and different things. So just having that socializing time has been huge, just to get the buy-in back in for the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
That's been huge, and you can do that without singing in public and maintain the 6 feet and just meet in a park somewhere, or whatever is allowed in your area if people are interested.
Yeah.
So
Is your chorus very big into afterglows?
Into
not.
afterglows.
Afterglows, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably not.
Okay.
We're one of the chapters that when the rehearsal ends, like, everybody goes
Just goes.
Hi. Yeah. And then, there's other chapters that are like, we were on for an extra hour afterwards, just, socializing, everybody got their drinks. And but I think part of that too is when we're all together in person, like I have an hour and a half drive home from rehearsal. And I work at 7 o'clock the next morning. I am not
You're not going to be glowing.
glowing on a Monday night. I'm sorry. But that we try. I mean, we tried it a couple of times, but we just have I have a lot of people that work early in the morning, and so with Zoom we actually get on beforehand. So we actually rehearsal starts at 7, so we'll spend a little bit of time, 6:30, 6:45, and then chat, and then get into rehearsal, and then everybody leaves at the end. So we do have that socializing.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that sometimes has been the thing that has kept the glue, I would say, is especially early in the pandemic when everyone was really in lockdown and no one was going out and doing anything. It was like that was the only time to socialize, is to find each other online, set up a Zoom and just chat or catch up with what's going on. So
Yeah. And have you, I mean, you've done the barbershop at home stuff. Is that one of the things that's also out there for the directors, like as education?
yeah, so the Jim, it's called Live at Home. I don't know if you'd heard about it, but BHS tried to do like a model of what a rehearsal could look like virtually. And they did the first one in November, one in December, and then one in January. And they're all available online through the BHS YouTube channel. So if you have some people that maybe in your chorus that do want to rehearse, but your chorus is not officially getting together, that might be an option for you guys because it's about 45 minutes to an hour. So it's not too long.
Oh, it's longer than that.
Is it longer? Okay. I think they broke
like some nights it's 2 hours.
Okay. They broke it up into smaller videos though, so you don't have to sit like through and watch the whole entire thing. But I mean, they brought in like Jim Henry and Forefront, and they taught Keep the Whole World Singing with like the right notes and the right parts. And he went through the whole song and kind of analyzed the areas that people learn differently. And it's been really fun, like different people leading warm-ups, teaching a tag. Kevin Keller even did a session of like how to write your own tag or how to harmonize to a tag and doing some woodshedding. So it's been a neat variety of things.
I did participate in a couple of those, but I don't think anybody else in our group was there. So I don't think anybody else has been involved.
Well, maybe you could share the link with them.
One is coming up too.
Is there another one?
Yeah, April 11th on Barbershop Harmony Day.
Oh,
they're doing one at 7 o'clock.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, the link is, I signed up for it as soon as they sent the link out. So.
I heard about that one, but I'm not sure if I can participate, but I'd like to do that.
Yeah, and I send out the links like when they say, oh, it's available now to my chorus members. I don't know that a lot of people have gone to watch or listen. But for me as a director, I'm just like, okay, these are some of the things that we can look at, either get some ideas. And also I've had a couple of my guys that were on there. I'm just like, so what parts did you like, or was there anything you didn't like? And they'll let me know what they didn't like. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's those have been to just as a participant. So rather than being the director running the rehearsal, being the participant in it has been fun. And then one of the choruses we visited, what I loved was she actually had she would choose like once a month or once or twice a month somebody from the chapter who would actually co-run the, so they would be in charge of like, okay, any trivia stuff that we do, like that person was in charge, but you come up with a theme for the night, and so it was very somebody else keep the tags, all that kind of stuff. That was a lot of fun.
Just break up the different components to different people. That's smart.
Yeah, but it's been fun visiting other choruses too. And I don't know how many individuals have been doing that, but I told my chapter, once a month, I'd like to go visit somebody else. Like as a whole chorus, we'll just, whether it's on our rehearsal night or some other night, we try and stick with the central time zone. So it's, you know, same rehearsal time as us, but let's go somewhere else. So I hit up directors. I'm like, hey, do you have space for 12 guys to come in and just observe your rehearsal? I want to see what you do and see what we can talk about, including in ours. So it's been very, very fun. You know, so a couple of them have been international competitors. And so it's been very fun just to see what they do, and how they continue to prep and stuff like that. So
Yeah, we're having a joint rehearsal with Arlington's chorus on Tuesday night. Untitled Chapter and Arlington are doing a joint session. So you're welcome to come if you guys want to come. I can send you the link. All right, I think we're gonna get the warning sign to go back to the main room. So I'm gonna go ahead and
in 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5. I'm listening to Mark.
Oh, okay. You said a little bit more time still?
We have, yeah, like 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay.
We're in a 1-bedroom apartment, so he's in the dining room and I'm in the living room, which is there's no wall or door.
Awesome.
So, but that's fun. I'm sorry that more people that were able to join us tonight for it. But it was pretty good.
So Jim, you said you've attended some of the live at home. What are some other things that you've been doing to kind of keep yourself going musically?
Not a lot. I've talked to a few of our members, and we all have been wondering if we're going to try to do anything in the near future, but haven't really gotten very far with that. Our director actually lives he's about 75 miles away, and I think he probably hasn't really wanted to pursue much as a way of trying to get together. And we don't really have a good meeting place that we can socially distance. So I'm not sure what we're gonna do with that.
Yeah, we were in the same boat. We were talking about that, about our venues have changed through COVID and the different parameters that the host locations have. It's to accommodate that for sure.
Yeah.
Has your chorus maintained at least some form of communication, like email or anything, throughout the pandemic, Jim?
No, not really.
Well, maybe there's something that we could do to at least get some of your members that maybe are interested in doing Zoom. We could do something virtual just to get some connections with some SWD people together.
At one time we did have a Zoom meeting, but there was only a few people that attended, and it was, we really couldn't decide that we could do anything over Zoom as far as a rehearsal or any kind of thing like that. So I think everybody just kind of dropped it.
Was that pretty early on last year?
Yeah, it was. Yes.
Yeah. It definitely is not something that I ever thought we would end up doing, you know, first of all, at all, second of all, for this long, right?
Yeah.
But we've had to kind of change our game plan and mix things up and try different things and experiment with what would work. And it's been a learning process for everybody, really.
What's your regular rehearsal night, Jim?
It's Monday nights. It's been Monday nights.
My chorus rehearsals on Monday. If anybody wants to zoom in, I'm happy to send the link over. We do an hour and we learn a new tag every week. We do some sectionals. It's, you know, not very long, but at least it gives us something to get together.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested, I can certainly send out the link for that.
That'd be great. Contact those 4 or 5 people that are willing.
Yeah, maybe.
Hang out. That'd be great.
Yeah, we have a few chapters that are Monday night chapters in our district. It's a good time to go and visit other choruses to see what, you know, how they've been dealing with the pandemic, but just also just get education. A lot of courses are bringing in coaches and teachers and stuff. And so it's been an opportunity just to get education. So anytime my chapters had a coach come in, I open it up to, chapters that I know in Sweet Adelines that are director lists right now. So I'm like, if you need a night of education, come on over. We've got somebody coming into an hour-long class. Just bring your entire chapter and we can do it that night. So it takes the stress of having to organize the rehearsal for an evening when you have somebody coming in and teaching a class. So that's what we've been doing. So if we had a way to, maybe it's something we look at with Rocky, just who's got people coming in that have open rehearsals, and we send out an email to everyone. I'm happy to send the link. For me, it's the same link every week for my chapter meeting, if anybody wants to come in and see it. If other chapters do that, and then individuals can come in and just drop in on other choruses.
Yeah.
And it's
What is your
not
chapter?
something you have to do. Pardon?
What chapter are you? Where was your chapter?
I direct Fort Worth.
Okay.
So, and I know like Plano, Mark is with Plano, and they rehearse on Monday nights too, which is a lot of fun too.
Oh, okay.
In rehearsals at the same time.
Yeah, mine are on Tuesday.
They have
I'm with the Austin chapter, and ours are on Tuesday nights. So
Okay.
it's not your regular night, but we've got that joint rehearsal with Arlington this week. So I mean, if there are people that are like, hey, I haven't done anything in a while, and they just want to come be with other barbershoppers, we could have you guys come on that Tuesday too.
Yeah. I'll check with Mark.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording so that we can head back
Sure.
to the joint room for Jason Whitney. He's our next gen coordinator, and so he can talk with us about like outreach to younger singers and music educators as well.
Okay.